The thing is with networking, is most people know just enough about it to get themselves into trouble. But how many of us spent years learning how to network? It's a skill. But when's the best time to build a roof? Before it rains. So when you need your network, when you need help, when you need information, when you need clients, if you're going to go to your network to get help, you can only get help if you've invested in it in the past. You've got to start building the roof now. Most of your competition won't have that because guess what? They're not here. You are. Handing out a business card is not networking. Networking is what happens before and after and where you take it.
We were seeing sales increases over last year, even now during working remotely. We're a company that sells native bees for pollination in spring and summertime. We're an e-commerce company, but we also handle hundreds, if not thousands, of orders a day. We have over 30,000 customers out there that depend on us for information. So we decided that we wanted to be able to have a one-on-one live conversation with our customers. And after we did our first live webinar, we were so happy that we had chosen it. We could not believe the responses on the polls, which really helped us make marketing and business decisions for the following week. So we immediately looked at what are the Zoho apps that we could use to leverage this, and immediately we thought of follow-up surveys. We created follow-up campaigns based on users' answers to those surveys. Those little micro targeted marketing campaigns that we enabled literally in hours. Just in the past few weeks, we've noticed our revenue skyrocketing. We had an analytics report that had every one of our customers' questions. We sorted them by topic, we sorted them by area of the country, and then we delegated them out to different team members to cover them. That could not have been done with any other webinar software that I've used. So we can have separate conversations for people that attended webinar A, people that attended webinar B. We're not just sending broadcast messages to everyone. We can have that personal interaction with people, and my gosh, the response has been so overwhelmingly positive. We at least 200 emails that I get in response after a webinar that don't ask a question or anything, just thank you so much for this. We really enjoyed seeing Dave live on the screen. We really loved hearing your voices. Please do this again. The spikes in our traffic, the spikes in sales, the spikes in signups for our newsletter, the spikes in customer interactions on our social pages coincide almost to the minute to the beginning and the end of our webinars. So we're really looking forward to our next one. Our business is doing really well, and I know that's because of our solid platform, our solid customer service platform that was built on Zoho.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Zoho Live. Today we have the pleasure of having Mr. Phil Bedford, who is a good friend, a prolific entrepreneur with a lot to talk about. So I had the pleasure of knowing Phil for over 5 years now, and I joined his network. I learned a lot from him. Every encounter with Phil is fun and is informative. And he's a sport to be around. So Phil, welcome to our show.
Great to be here, Ali. Really good to see you again. And hi, everybody.
Always a pleasure. Phil, let's get right to it. Tell us about Asentive, with a bit of a background, probably.
So we've been going for nearly 20 years now. Asentive is what you call an entrepreneurial development company. So we specialize in working with entrepreneurs, particularly between 0 and about 10 years. So we're in about 18 countries, and 99% of our clients are small business owners. We have worked with larger companies such as Cartier, Hard Rock Cafe, EY, but on the whole, it's small businesses. And it really is helping those small businesses in their early years thrive rather than struggle alone.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you're also a published author. You want to tell us about your books?
Oh, Ali, my mum's so proud because I actually didn't do very well in English language at school. So my mum's really patting me on the back. But yes, I've got a couple of books out. Kiss the Rebel went to #1 on Amazon, I think about 3 years ago. I co-wrote another one called The World's Best Known Marketing Secret, the Middle East edition, with a gentleman called Dr. Ivan Meisner and a couple of other co-authors. And I'm just releasing my new one, which is The 7 Deadly Startup Sins, which is very pertinent for small businesses.
That's great. And I saw some really cool videos, the snippets that you guys did with some of the partners within the network about this topic. Yeah, these were really cool. Probably we could have shared some of those, but people can follow you and see those on your feed on Instagram or on your website. Awesome. No, that's very exciting, and the work you're doing for the community, for the SME community, is quite impressive. Again, I've witnessed only probably almost 6 years of it, or 5 years of it, and again, from the learning perspective, or just being inspired by you and the people around the community, it was definitely an amazing experience. So the title of today's show is about why is it the best time to be a small business, and somewhat maybe somehow we might find it counterintuitive, but I think it's such a relevant point of view. So what do you think about it? Why is it the best time? Why is it a good time to be a small business today?
Well, I think before we go any further, I mean, it can always be a good time to be a small business if you've got the right tools. You've got the right support structure, the right product. But I think particularly over the last couple of months with what the world's experienced, I think we've seen a number of, the sort of things that have held people back really being busted. I mean, for a lot of people, you see all these really big businesses and, you tend to think, oh gosh, I'll never be that successful. And, I'm starting out, I don't know what I'm doing. But I think what's become really apparent is a lot of these massive, massive companies are only one bad month away from going bust. With all the money they've got, with all the resources they've got, they're one bad month away from going bust. And as small business owners, most of us, when we launch our small business, you need to come into this with a mindset of, I need to be able to fund myself for 1 year to 2 years. So in many ways, we're actually better off than they are, because we come in with a mindset of, I need to be frugal with my spend. I need to find other ways of doing things. And I think with big companies, one of the challenges is they're very siloed. Each individual is very siloed into what they do. You have a sales guy, a marketing guy, an admin guy. And small business owners come into this, and we realize very soon that we've got to be good at everything. And so what we do is, if we're smart, is we look for the free ways to market ourselves. We don't expect other people to do it for us. We find ways to network. We reach out. We develop skills we didn't have, and we're frugal. We look at ways of saving money and getting the best bang for our buck. Whereas I think big companies are so used to throwing money and spending money that when these last times have hit us, suddenly it's right. They're stuck. And a great metaphor really would be a speedboat. If you've got a speedboat on this side, and then on this side, you've got an oil tanker, and they're both going towards a whole load of rocks. Well, the speedboat's probably going to be able to switch out the way really quickly, whereas the oil tanker takes over a mile to slow down. So I think, number one, we've experienced this. But secondly, not even outside of COVID, the age group of 40 plus are losing their jobs like we've never seen before. And suddenly it's the time to give yourself, to give it a go, to have a go. Gen Z are an entrepreneurial generation. They all want to work for themselves. Millennials. So also there's the mindset of working for yourself. There's the mindset of, I deserve the best I can get, and I deserve that life. I deserve to make it a difference. They're passionate to make a difference. People aren't, I think, railroaded into the old mindset of, at 16, you go to college, you leave college, you get a job, then I retire, and then I'm okay. I think people want more. I think it's never been a better time.
It's very well said, and then you mentioned a couple of really interesting points. I'm going to start with the marketing bit, because in any economic downturn, in any difficult time, usually the marketing budget and the marketing team, if they exist, are the first to go. So you reduce everything with marketing, you go conservative. And for an SME or a micro SME where there is probably there is no marketing team, but of course there's a limited marketing budget. I find it quite interesting that SMEs could be more agile with the way they do market themselves. And it's no longer just the traditional ways of marketing, the new platforms, the new ways of doing it, and methodology that you're teaching. Probably want to elaborate on that front, where the efforts that an SME can put, it's not actually about the marketing budget, leveraging network and those kind of things. So yeah, please.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, one of the 7 deadly sins of startups is most people come from a corporate, right? They've come out of a big company where they have marketing budget, they have a sales team, and they've spent a fortune on SEO. They've got money, and when people start a small business, their experience of marketing is to do what the big company did. And the thing is with marketing is it's a little bit like brushing your teeth. You have to keep doing it, because if you stop and you stop long enough, your teeth go rotten. And the problem is for small business owners is if they spend their money like the big company did, they've got no money left. I've even worked with marketing experts from big companies who've launched their own business, and they struggle. And they struggle because they're only used to marketing when they've got money to spend. And the trouble is when that money's coming from your own pocket, it tends to be a bit of a harder battle. So it's the time to get clever. And there's only really two forms of marketing. There's paid marketing and free marketing. And and anybody can grow a business with money. If you got money, it's easy. You just throw enough money, you know what your strategy is, and off you go. But the free stuff, that takes real skill. So how do you start to leverage all the free things which previously you might have paid for? And you were saying earlier on, there's so many great tools out there, but people are stuck in spending money. So how do you think differently?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is a confusing world. On one side, we have, as you said, a lot of us come from corporate lives, previous lives that we had. So we are used to a different way of working. And also the literature, the education, the experience, the case studies that are available for us to read on HBR or other magazines and outlets. These are usually about big corporations. A lot of it does not apply to a micro SME or SME scenario. So we want to take that and apply it to our scenario, and it doesn't work. And you hear, you rarely hear about free marketing. And people think that free marketing is slapping my logo on my car and just driving around the town. It's not that. And we often ignore the fact that probably one of the strongest platforms we have is the network around us. The reciprocity that exists amongst our network and the assets and the shared experience that is there. So one of the things I found very useful when I was a part of an SME was that when you sit with the like-minded people, you also get to learn from them about how to market yourself as one of your basic teachings, how to brand yourself, how to be able to even talk about yourself. And sometimes we even ask ourselves, what am I really trying to do? What is my core message? Who am I in my core? What is my integral, inseparable part of me that I want to really deliver and create value in the world? So this is quite an interesting topic, I think, for an SME that is right now looking at the non-existent marketing budget and like, okay, what do I do now? How do I go out and continue surviving or even thriving? And in this is a perfect time because a lot of industries are being disrupted, and SMEs being small in size and agile and flexible they can find their way going through the cracks and find new opportunities. So yeah, looking at it from that perspective is quite valuable.
Yeah, I think you've just touched on something that's quite powerful, and there's a couple of things. So number one is the interesting thing about leveraging. Most of these secrets come from the people we're around. Okay, and I'm not just talking about networking before anyone starts going, oh, networking. That is so much bigger than that. And this is one of the challenges I think we get as Asentive, is that people may not join us because they think, oh, well, yeah, relationships, that's all about networking, and I hate networking, so what's the point? It's bigger than that. Just as an example, if you wanted to market your business and you wanted to be seen as a leader, it would probably be a good thing to be on the local news channel, TV. Probably be a good thing to be on the local radio. How about Forbes magazine? How about Entrepreneur? Would that be a good place to be? But how would you do it as a small business? How would you do it? And for most people, it would be, well, I'll get a PR company and I'll pay them because that's what you do. But that costs a fortune. And interestingly enough, I've been on all those channels and it cost me absolutely nothing. In the same way I'm here today, and that cost me absolutely nothing. And the reason being is because I had a relationship with the person who's pivotal in getting me on here, which is you. And the thing is, if I didn't have that relationship, it would have been my competitor. So how can we build the relationships with the people that can get us where we want to go? And the biggest problem we have, I think, is people don't realize that this is very much a learned skill. We learn to become a doctor, we learn to become a salesperson, we learn to be an engineer, but whoever learns how to leverage their network. Now, every now and again, we get one person who's just completely talented at it and completely brilliant, and they are great. But 99% of people are not. And so it's how can we learn to do that? And the interesting thing about our network, you alluded to this earlier on, building your business through people, which is what we're talking about here, is actually recession proof. Because when there is a recession, like you said correctly, people pull back on the marketing budget, they fire salespeople, but you still have to perform, but we're not getting you any leads anymore. So it's like, well, what happens? And the interesting thing about your network, the people you're around, is it doesn't matter what's happening in the market because they don't go anywhere. They're still there. And so if you can learn to leverage your network to get you where you want to go and solve the problems that you can't solve, it's with you forever. It's recession proof. But most people don't have it. And that's the real skill. It's a learned skill.
That's hard to admit, honestly. There are misnomers about these titles. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a networker. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. And again, coming mostly from corporate mindset, we tend to label things and say that I'm not this and I'm not that. And between it's this learned skill, and between the reality of, let's say, me as a person and that learned skill, I need to go through this unlearning process of probably setting things aside and thinking that, okay, I should unlearn a few concepts that I'm used to and know myself better, and just look around, fellow human beings, other business people, how they do it, what they do, their struggles. We're not alone. It's not just me going through this COVID pandemic or another economic downturn. We're all together. And one of the things that I saw firsthand is that these kind of crises, they bring people together. It's so amazing. And even in a diverse city like Dubai, that most of us come from different cultures, different backgrounds, different age groups. It's so diverse, the city specifically. Still, people come out and try to help each other, help themselves and help each other go forward. So it is a learned skill. Absolutely, absolutely.
It is, and you know what, Ali, for anyone that's listening here, I mean, I'm not natural at this. I'm an introvert. I walk into a room of people, I'm not necessarily comfortable. I could quite happily sit on the table on my own. I
have a hard time buying that, but yeah.
Yeah, really. Oddly enough, I'm what you call a situational extrovert. So I'm not necessarily comfortable, but I can switch a button and jump on a stage and do it. But, I'm certainly not a supernatural networker. So, I've learned, I mean, anyone that knows me is, what a lot of people don't know is when I was 15 years old, so I won't go into too much depth, but when I was 15 years old, I actually threw a house party. It was my birthday. Mum made this big party for me, and you're a man, so we can have a party. And they said, we're going to go out for the night and leave you here. So they left me there with all this food and everything, and I was there ready for my birthday. I was 15 years old, and about 3 hours later, Mum came back, and I was all sat there alone, and nobody came. And the thing is, though, as sad as that is, it was all my fault because I didn't invite anyone.
Wow.
I honestly didn't think that I wasn't important enough, so nobody would come, and I didn't want to invite people in case I got rejected. And so, oddly enough, it was all my fault. And what happens with me every time I go to a networking event, every time I organize a session, every time I do any kind of public event, deep inside me, it's like, well, what if they don't come? And it would be too easy not to do it. So what I've learned is a system. I've learned do this, do this, do this, do this, people come. And it's the same for a lot of small business owners. We've all got these little gremlins on our shoulder saying, you're no good at this, you can't do that, you're not good enough, your brand, you're this, you're that. And the thing is, though, if we can learn how to push through that, anything's possible. So if I can do this, so can you. You just need to want it bad enough.
So true. It's so true. The voice in our heads, it tells us constantly what's our fault and how bad we're doing at certain things. And at the end of the day, it's just getting rid of that and doing those steps, which if you lay them out on a piece of paper, they seem so easy and trivial. It's probably 10 steps or 12 steps, and consistency is key. And I'm not going to go on a pedestal saying believe in yourself or anything. No, just do the recipe. You're absolutely, some of your story actually resonates with me. I won't go as far as calling it your fault, but that was the reality you created yourself. I have my own reality. I create a reality for myself, and then I live within that reality. But how real is my reality? And how do I define it for myself? How am I impeding my own progress as a person? And that exactly reflects directly onto how I perform in a business, be it in an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur. So it is a journey. It is a challenging journey. I think it's you have to really deal with yourself.
Yeah, I think it's so true what you're saying, and none of us ever come to this perfect. None of us ever launch a business and we have all the tools ever. And the entrepreneurial curse is that we don't think we need help. A lot of what we do here in Asentive, it's actually not marketing. It's actually, how do I surround myself with the people that can fill in the gaps on the skills I don't have? How can I surround myself with the people that will stop me from making the mistakes? The people that I can ring up at a split second and get some pivotal advice that could keep me out of trouble. Because here's the thing, if you don't have those resources, you're on Google, or you're paying someone who you've never met before to give you advice. That all takes time, money, and effort, and there's more chance of it going wrong. So as small business owners, I get a lot of people who are like e-commerce, for example, and they're like, oh, I don't need you guys because I'm online, so I don't need any help with marketing. And okay, with the marketing, maybe not, but you live in the real world. You've got the same problems as everybody else. And if you can't solve your problems quickly and easily, then, well, guess what? That impacts your business. It impacts your ability to turn up and be efficient. So marketing a business owner has only really one job, and that's problem solver or problem preventer. So the easier you can solve these issues, the quicker you can get back to it, or the quicker you can get back to your family, or the quicker you can go back to your hobbies or start a new business. The thing is with the whole relationship thing is, some people kind of get this and some people don't. I know I wouldn't be where I am as quickly as I am without the people I've been around, you being one of them, Ali. I certainly wouldn't. You've been, some of my clients need help with Zoho. I've got a number of my clients work with Zoho as a platform. And in my meeting today, there was a few of them, saying, oh, I'm a bit stuck with this and I'm a bit stuck with that. I'm like, okay, I'll just give Ali a call. And within 5 minutes, you had your guy helping all 6 of them. that's a resource, right?
Yeah.
And that shows up everywhere in our business, whether it's law, this, that, whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so true. So in this conversation, and having attended your program and your community sessions, one of the things I realized that was it's not about, well, there's a core educational aspect of it, where we share the concepts and there's practicing, there's peer review and all of that. One of the things I appreciate a lot was that it turns into a therapy session. Because you have this intimate conversation with fellow business owners, very safe environment, where you talk about some of the most intimate issues you have with your business, which actually some of the personal stuff also reflects back on business. But core is the business and success and progress. And also, you don't give them the recipe. You coach them through this, because the answer is within us, for real. Again, away from any cliche, we get to find the answer by ourselves. If I deny that I'm not a good salesman for 10 years, and then ta-da, one day I wake up and I'm like, oh, I could sell. But what happened? Who impacted my life in the past few years or few months? What did I learn? What did I witness within that process? Who did I surrounded myself with who made that impact in my life? Becomes a life-changing moment. A disruptive, a transformational moment in life. So going back to the whole coaching conversation there, and I have basically two questions here. One is, I hear from SMEs that they think that coaching, business coaching, and having a business coach is just for rich executives or presidents or prime ministers, probably. So what do you have to say to SMEs? Why do you think they need, if they do, business coaching? And let's just start with that. Yeah, I'll ask my second question later.
I think there's two elements to the whole coaching thing. One is something that's stuck in our minds from years ago, which is where if you need a coach, it's because you're not good enough. There's that thing that's kind of ingrained, where actually coaching is about overperforming. So number one is the mindset of what is the coach for, and getting over your own challenge of that. There are executive coaches where, again, the company will pay for the coach and they'll pay upwards of $1,000 something an hour for the privilege. Well, for a small business, that's a lot of money, and so, I certainly work with my clients for a lot less than that, because what we do is we work in communities. So, we'll work in a group of entrepreneurs and they get the same information, but of course it's a lot more cost effective because it's almost like crowdfunded. But at the same time, you can still work one-on-one. But I think it's like, at the end of the day, the other thing as well is I think there's a lot of ego in this. I'm really good at what I do, so I don't need a coach. And I think what we all need to recognize is that we're not all good at everything. I think a perfect example of this is, I recently did an Ironman competition. Okay, so an Ironman is a very long triathlon. So swim like 1,800 meters, cycle 90 kilometers, and run half a marathon. And I'd never done that in my life. Right? It's further than I've ever swum, run, or cycled. And the trouble is, when I did this, I had a massive injury. In fact, when I signed up for it, I was hobbling because I had such an injury. And every time I tried to run more than a kilometer, I'd end up walking because I damaged myself. And yet I just signed up for this crazy thing, right? And so what I realized was, and this is a metaphor for business, obviously, what I realized was I'd signed up for this really big thing, but I only had 3 months to do it, okay? And it's a bit like a business. When we start a small business, we don't have 10 years to be a success. We have 1, 2, 3 years, because then we run out of money. And people think they've got all this time, but they haven't. We've got limited time. And just like I had limited time on this event, so I went out and thought, okay, to be successful in this, I need to recognize my challenges. If I try and run, I damage myself. Okay, so I need to get someone to teach me to run better. And I need a physio to make sure that when I'm doing it, I can work on the damage. Then I need to look at my style. Then I looked at my accountability, so I had an app to make sure I was doing the right exercise. Then I built up to it slowly. Then I hung around people who'd already done the competition, so I had that visual challenge. I had 5 coaches. It cost me nearly $3,000 to do this one race, right? Because of all the coaches I paid for and the time and the event and all that. But here's the thing. I wanted it so badly that I was willing to pay. And there's a lot of people that want their business so badly, but are they willing to pay for the help they need? And I think it's about being a bit humble and not realizing we do know it all, and just reaching out for those experts. And I've got tons of experts in my, when COVID kicked off, like everybody, most of my stuff was offline. It was workshops in the real world. It was networking in the real world. And of course, everything went online and I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen now? But luckily I was around a community of experts. My clients are all experts in what they do. So when you've got a group of experts who are all driven, who are all community minded, who all want to help, suddenly you start getting bombarded with all these great ideas. And so I managed to pivot as myself, and we were lucky. We actually grew our business significantly over COVID. And there's businesses that did really, really well no matter what happened, because that was just their model. They got businesses that couldn't do anything because that was their model. And then in between, you've got people who could have done well if they'd have done something, and people that did do well because they did something. And I hands up, if I hadn't been in that community I'm in with all these experts, I don't know if I would have done as well. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I put myself around those experts.
Yeah. You created the opportunity and the setup for yourself. This is the thing.
There's a comment there by a gentleman. He said, a good place for small businesses is to join a co-working space and build your network. 100%. Be around people like yourself. And it's not just about being there. It's about the way you leverage the people there and the way you contribute to them. I could walk into a room of experts and walk out achieving absolutely nothing. Or I can walk into a room of experts, spend some time, ask the right questions, and walk out with solutions left, right, and center. So it is absolutely right. It's about surrounding yourself and putting yourself in the right environment, but it's what you do when you're there that counts, and who those people are. It's like, if you want to win the World Cup in football, you don't turn up with a Saturday and Sunday side that only plays at the weekend, doesn't worry about their diet, probably a bit overweight. If you want to win the World Cup, you need to go and find a team that's as committed as you are with the right mindset, and they're going to put the effort in, right? And this is what we need to be doing. We need to be surrounding ourselves with the people with the right mindset, the right passion, the right skills, for whatever those skills are, that's going to get you where you want to go. But you've got to be willing to contribute with them as well. Otherwise, you don't have a community.
Yeah. There's an old saying that first you tell me who you hang out with, then I tell you who you are. So it is so relevant in business, and what you just said, it's amazing. And we tend to ignore it, either be distracted by the fluff of the whole community and networking and all of that, and then just turn it either into a habit that nothing comes out of it. There's no mission, there is no objective, or just straight out ignore it or deny it and say, no, I'm not going to do this either by I know everything or I'm not good enough. And it is so easy. I mean, the brain is such a weird machine. It's your best friend and your worst enemy. Looking at it, at the same topic from different angle, completely different results. But again and again, this is evident in my own life. Every time I surrounded myself with smart people, with driven people, with passionate people, it impacted my life almost immediately. And every time I lagged behind, I left myself, in a corner or something, I just saw the effect. But the impact of that effect was lingering throughout, and I had to really work harder to come back from that pause in my life. So same thing in business. And it's such an important thing.
Napoleon Hill said that, didn't he? You're the average of the 5 people you hang around. And I think they even said, if you take the earnings, what those 5 people you spend most of your time around, add together what they earn, divide by 5, your personal income will be within $2,000 of that average. You know, and if we don't believe ourselves, just go back to school. You know, when you're at school, who did the rich kids hang around? Rich kids. What about the geeky kids? Geeky kids, troublemakers. The thing is, we become the average of what we're around. So if we want to pick up our skill set, if we want to pick up our mindset, if we want to pick up, we naturally need to start what we call networking up. You need to be around a different level of person. And then you'll become that average. Doesn't mean you can't help other people that aren't there, but you do need to pick up your average. And as you rightly said, you've got to keep doing it, like brushing your teeth. And every now and again, we kind of disappear and go back into our cave. And like you said, you see the impact on your business every time you go back to your cave.
Yeah.
And it's definitely worth being out there.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, and the painful thing is a lot of times we know the answer, but alone with ourselves behind our office door, we might not really take any action. When we go out there and see our peers in action, is it motivation? Is it peer pressure? Is it competition? Name it whatever you want. That really works. When you really surround yourself with peers and you see them in action, okay, people are progressing, people are pushing forward, and it gives you that energy to also push forward, which is quite important. Coming back to the second part of my question, we're running a little bit out of time. We talked about coaching, and I see people interested in become a coach. So, do you have any advice for them as an expert?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, when I got involved with Asentive, you know, I'd had what I call hobby jobs before. You know, they were sort of jobs on the side, and nothing particularly full time. And there's a lot of people out there, I think, that, you know, for two reasons. One is maybe they want to start their own business, but they don't really have the product. You know, so they want to sell or they want to be a coach, but they don't have the product. And other people are very, very successful, but they might just say, you know, hey, I want to give back. You know, I want to go out. And one thing about Asentive is, and this is what I love about a franchise at the end of the day, if you've got the passion to want to work for yourself, but you don't necessarily know the product or how to do it, the great thing about a franchise is it gives that to you. Here's the website, here's the training, here's the product. All you need to do is turn up with your passion. And really, I learned my whole coaching thing and everything else as part of my journey. You know, it's and again, you need to decide what kind of coach you want to be. Coaching is a very noble profession, and there's a lot of coaches that, you know, really aren't doing very well. You know, in Dubai, if you throw a stone, you hit a coach. We like to say, because there's just so many here. But you need to decide if you want to have a business or you want to have a practice. If you want to have a business, then you need to learn how to market your business. You need to learn how to scale. If you just want to have a practice and coach people one at a time, as and when you feel like it, fine. Trouble is, when you're ill, your business stops. You know, if you can't turn up at work one day, you don't get paid. And so you got to decide if you want a lifestyle job or a business, because lifestyle, you don't get paid when you stop working, right? So, you know, recognize what kind of coach you want to be. And if it's someone that, you know, that's doing life coaching, there's some great companies out there. ICF Help, they're really good. There's a number of others. But if you want to learn how to grow your business and be a coach and help other people, I'd love to talk to you. We're building our team and looking for great people.
Awesome. Okay, it's easy to find you online, either logging into asentive.com. But not AE, or is it .com? Just to be sure.
Yeah, .com will take you to the global, and then you can move here. You know, we're particularly passionate about growing Asentive in the GCC. So looking over, you know, sort of Oman, Qatar, Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait.
We do have we do have audience from across Middle East and Africa. So whoever is watching or listening, go to the respective website or just reach out to Phil. He's always quite helpful.
I welcome referrals, strangely enough.
That's awesome.
And
cool.
Just shout out to Graham, who's jumped on. Graham's a big supporter of what we do, so I just want to acknowledge the fact he's taken the time out to jump on and put some nice comments. So Graham, if you're there, good to see you, mate. I know you know him, don't you, Ali?
All right. Great, gentlemen. I had the pleasure of meeting Graham. Awesome. Thank you so much. There was some lessons there as well. You know, this is how you market yourself properly. Awesome. Awesome. So any closing remarks, anything you want to leave us with? So we think at least half a day or a couple of days, you know, any aha moments for us?
Yeah, it's something that's always very pertinent to me. Is you know, at the end of the day, you can't help others while you're talking about yourself, and you can't learn anything while you're talking about yourself. The only way we learn, the only way we help, is to listen to others and accept the fact we don't know it all. And if we're willing to do that, then pretty much anything's possible. And I think particularly in this part of the world, we're surrounded by so many amazing nationalities, cultures. It's so rich that if we're willing to listen and learn, we can only get better for that.
That is so true. So true. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have to leave it on the high note. Let's see if there are any questions. We have a question from UAE. Okay. There is e-trader license available to expats in UAE. Yeah. How is the market for such e-trading platforms under the current circumstances? You go ahead first, and I'll give my feedback on that as well, if you want to elaborate.
Well, I mean, I'd need to know more about what he's trying to sell. He says e-trader, so I'd need to know a little bit more about exactly what he's doing.
This trade license is done by the Department of Economic Development. I'm just spelling it out for non-UAE audience. And it's quite a cost-effective way to start your own business. It's a solopreneur kind of business. And there's a long list of activities that you can do. And it's such a good initiative. It used to be only available for locals, for the Emiratis, and now it's available to expats. And it has removed a lot of challenges that a typical startup could face. But I don't know exactly, as you said, what they're trying to do, because there's a long list of activities they can do.
And I think
it
doesn't give you a visa either, I think. So it's more for people that are, you know, got a wife or husband, something like that. So there is limitations to it, but it does open up opportunities, that's for sure. As
long as you're a resident of Dubai, you can apply for that. And there's now conversations around making freelance or part-time work much easier in the UAE. So I think these two things complement each other. But again, I wish that question was more detailed. You can ask us later if you have a particular business model in mind.
If that individual does want some help, I'm sure they can reach out to either of us, Ali. We both happen to know experts in that field. So oddly enough.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Some of the Asentive network members, they are actually experts in this, either from a law perspective or setting up the company. You're absolutely right. The power of network. Awesome. That's about it. I think, we've been talking for 40 minutes. We can talk for another hour and 40 minutes, but we're pressed on time. Probably we'll repeat this if we see that the audience are excited as much as we are. Thank you so much for your time. Really was a pleasure. It's a blast to have you today, and I'll catch you later.
It's good to see you, mate. See you guys. All the best. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day or evening. Bye-bye.